And this, you don't have to just couch it in terms of Voyager, but as a performer, as an actor, can you give me an example of when you maybe walked off stage and you said, oh, I nailed it? And then maybe another example where you're like, yeah, I want one more crack at that.
There were many Friday nights. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the SAG union rules. When you're shooting a series, you can roll from Friday into Saturday, and you can shoot from 8 a.m. on a Friday to 8 a.m. on a Saturday without stopping, without pause. And I did that a fair number of times, certainly the first 3 seasons. So around 4 o'clock in the morning, on a Saturday morning, the directors would invariably shoot out my colleagues, meaning they'd shoot Chakotay, they'd shoot Paris, Ensign Kim, and they'd leave the close-up, the final big close-up of Janeway, to last, knowing that I would be loath to give even less than my best at 4 a.m. Well, that's all well and good, isn't it? Except by then, all of the men had dropped trowel and were spitballing me and saying the most... I mean, this went on every Friday night, right? It was their way of sort of saying, we think we love you, but we don't know how much. So Friday nights were an ongoing challenge, but very often Monday mornings were my slam dunks. When I'd come in ready to go, that's a 4:30 call, right? In the chair at 5, on the set at 5:30, ready to go, roll it out, right? And the rest of them would be like this. I always felt good about that. When I'd meet Picardo in the hospital, he'd be ready, we'd be ready. Almost all of those scenes with Bob were great. Crackling, yeah. It's hard to say. It's all about mood, temperament, and investment, you know? If my kids were sick, usually there was some corner of me that was absent. That was very hard, that fight, you know? To fight that fear down and concentrate on what you have to do. That's what I mean about women. I think women have to do this a lot more than men know that we have to do it. Don't you think that's true? Am I alone in this? Men are getting so much better. Men are wonderful now, but it's still very hard. It's still very much a man's world. Yes?
First, I'd like to say that you may have the 20 to 40 demographic, but you're also capturing the younger demographic. My 13-year-old son, you're his favorite Star Trek captain.
Because you are a wonderful mother, madam.
He spent the summer watching Voyager. He's up to the 7th season. I called him last night on the phone. He said, sorry, Mom, I'm watching Star Trek, the Voyager.
I love him, yes.
So thank you for making my job as a mother easier. He can only be better as seeing, you know, strong.
That's a wonderful thing to say to me. Thank you.
And also it was my privilege to see you last fall at Broadway in Equius with Daniel Radcliffe. Can you say a little bit about that show?
I loved it. I loved doing it. I thought Dan Radcliffe was terrific. But my great friend Richard Griffiths was the guy that I had all my scenes with. And I think that, you know, Peter Shaffer is a brilliant playwright, and it's a wonderful story. I think it's a timeless story of identity crisis. And I loved the part I played, Hester Salomon. Who was she, you know? She was just a counsel, but she was a deeply feeling and astute woman. And you love it as an actor when you know where you're going for a year. Do you know? For a year, you get to go to the theater every night, except on Mondays. And there's a feeling of buoyancy and ebullience, at least. I'm a creature of the theater. I'm probably most comfortable in the theater. God knows I'm happy in the theater. So I loved every second of it. Loved it, loved it. And thank you for coming. Very nice. But many, many kisses. Pepper that sun with kisses. Yes, sir.
Miss Mulgrew, being the third captain and a lady, did you have any influences from Shatner or Stewart in developing your own character?
What do you mean by that? What do you mean really by that? Wait, what do you mean?
Did you take anything from them being a captain into you becoming your own captain?
Such as what?
Dealing with people,
Huh?
crisis situations, your leadership role, how you handled everything. Did you take anything from how they did?
No. Yes, ma'am.
You talked a little bit about how you were very prepared and did your best to always be prepared. And
during the run of the show, whether it was personal, part of your personal or part of your professional life, what did you unexpectedly find you were least prepared for, and how did you handle that?
A wonderful question. Wonderful question. Are you a scientist? A doctor?
No.
Oh.
I fix computers.
Oh, well, it's the same thing, right? I'll tell you what's diabolical. Everybody's going to go, she can't be serious about this, but I am serious about it. Exhaustion when you're a woman. It's different from exhaustion when you're a man. I know this. I've studied men. Not enough, never enough. Men are built. They're anatomically built to stand up. That's why they do so well in battle. That's why they do so well in sports. They're built to withstand that. The gravity is with them, all that. We are built to produce, reproduce, right? Lying down and nursing, lying down or sitting. The body of the female it's hard after 16, 17, 18 hours in 4-inch heels with no breaks, no breaks. So the challenge was, can I pull this off without letting the camera know that I'm depleted? Because the mark always of a great leader is to never show that. Never let him see you sweat. Never let him see you tired. But for Kate Mulgrew, that was ongoing. And don't forget, when you have 2 young boys, my kids were young, I didn't come home to a quiet house, right? And the weekends were uproarious. It was a constant thing. So I think always trying to find the energy. Praying to God for the energy. So I would say that. But what a wonderful question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.